We are back with yet another episode of the Dirty Laundry Game Worn Hockey Podcast. Paul and Wade join me again this week. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Great.
Doing well.
We're into the say deeper into the playoffs than a lot of people thought we would be, with having one sweep, and this one may or may not be. And as we're recording this, there's 12 minutes and 38 seconds left in the third, and it's a 2-2 tie. So we'll see if Dallas pushes this, or if it turns into like it did last night with 5 seconds to go, and its whole thing is settled. So we'll see. Values of jerseys or teams will jump up and down very quickly, I think, here. Some of the things.
Hottest jersey in hockey's got to be that Kachuk jersey right now.
Oh God,
the guy's just on fire.
Wait till Florida sells them, and I think doesn't Florida do most of their stuff in store? Do they do much online stuff?
I think they have a online website, but they offer it like their own, kind of like some of the teams do, but they also have it like in their team store. Because we just had a friend that went down there, and they have like all kinds of stuff, like you can buy the shoes, everything out of this team store.
Yeah, the store is getting excited for any of that stuff they get now, because even just going to the cup, it'll go insane.
Price jump.
Very much so. And as we also are in this time of year, and we've already had covered that with the wonderful stories that Paul Rank regaled us last time with San Jose's sale, is we have a list of a bunch coming up here, several scheduled for June the 3rd. One of the big ones, I know one of the very popular ones out there, Calgary Flames will be on Saturday, June 3rd, 8 to 9:30 a.m. for season ticket holders and 9:30 to 1 for the public. I bet people will be looking for some Kachuk stuff there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are they doing jerseys at the sale? Because
I thought so. But the Flames page was a little, because I think it was just announced today.
Oh wow. Because I know the last couple of years the jerseys were basically the email race.
Yeah, I remember.
And then I think it was direct sales last year on the website.
I think you're correct, actually. I think you are correct. I remember that popping up.
Yeah, I think the last 2 years were direct on the website, where you had seconds basically to choose the reverse retro you wanted. And before that, it was the email fun.
And you usually hear that, and I don't see it at all posted. It's the Calgary team store, was posted 6 hours ago. Equipment sale will take place at the Scotiabank Saddledome on June 3rd. All it says is equipment sale. Does not give any other details to what's covered. And some people in the comments asking about jerseys and different things. No responses. We'll have to dig into that one. And if I find anything, I'll put it out on the Dirty Laundry page, because I know that's an extremely popular one.
Mm-hmm.
Congrats
to our former Blue and Calgary great, Craig
yes.
Conroy. I'm getting the one of my all-time favorites, getting the general manager job there.
Yeah, and it's funny because some people are asking, "Hey, can we? Is there going to be autographs with him during the equipment sale?" And I don't blame people for that.
No.
Let's see, two other ones. I guess one we were talking about off the air before we started the recording. The Sharks are doing a sidewalk sale on June the 3rd, and they do say, and Paul doesn't even know what the hell they mean with this comment, is limited edition game used items.
Not a clue. Last year, the sidewalk sale was 2 days, and it's the storage facility behind SAP Center, where they keep a lot of the t-shirts and gear and stuff in this old building. And they have a fenced-in area, and it's outside. And last year, it was mostly t-shirts, souvenirs, stuff along that line. It was crazy hot last year too. And we still went both days, of course. They did bring out a rack of game-worn jerseys.
And the way you were talking, it sounded like there was enough out there that they'll probably do that again.
Yeah, I mean, the inventory is a lot less than what they had from last year, besides the older stuff. There's still a good number of game issued from like two years plus ago.
Blow that stuff out. You don't need to keep storing that crap that some people don't even know who the names of the people are. I mean, same way with art with the Blues is they hoard some of that stuff. It's like just get it out there.
I think they
I'm
started
with-
doing that. Yeah, they started doing that. That rack of the preseason jerseys last year. I think they finally came to the realization that holding on to that stuff doesn't prolong the value. It only prolongs how much stuff you got to move around.
I don't disagree there. Let's see. June the 3rd. You've got two minor league ones that I saw pop up in the last one was today and one or a few days ago, I guess. The Norfolk Admirals gonna be 12:30 to 5, Rockford Ice Hogs. Theirs is short. Theirs is 10 to noon.
They must not have a lot.
I guess not. But yeah, also June the 3rd. The Blues did announce theirs. Theirs are going to be June 17th, which I'll be in coming back from South Dakota, so I'm going to miss it. So Wade will do all our news coverage and info from there.
Yeah. Well, I think they're doing the season ticket holder on Thursday.
Yeah, June 5th from 5 to 7:30. So and you have to have, and they made it abundantly clear, full season only.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of that's been the bitch that full season ticket holders don't really get much anymore. So
Yeah.
ta-da, you get that now.
Are they going to check?
They never checked before, but I think it's more to keep the riffraff away, like me. But it probably won't work. I usually have access through friends with full season pass, privileges. So, their sale is going to be interesting. Again, I know, Doc, we've talked about it. It seems like they're giving away or selling a lot of the equipment stuff to some of those third-party vendors, as far as pants and gloves and sticks and what have you. And then, the jerseys, obviously, they do a different way. And they did make it pretty clear it's only practice jerseys that are going to be available at this event. But that could get interesting too, because I know they still have a pile of those Winter Classic practice jerseys on the Rinkside site. So what they have will be interesting. The other thing that I noticed I found very interesting was they said that they're going to have like youth gear available, which means they must be partnering with somebody to have that stuff there. So that makes it.
We've drafted some really small players.
Yeah, it's all Mike Hoffman and Torrey Krug's gear. That's all those guys.
The little kid, group.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they have. I'll definitely, not knowing that there's not gonna be jerseys. There was already a couple jokes made about my typically staying out there and sleeping out there the night before. I don't know if that's gonna happen, and with my partner Doc not being there to cuddle with.
Yes.
It makes it a little less desirable for me.
I'll think of you from a distance.
Yeah. Well, remember last year it was so hot because it rained and then the humidity came in.
And we didn't know for a while, we didn't know if they would still be able to do it because around St. Louis had horrible flooding. Flooded out the Metrolink, all kinds of stuff, but at least that area was good.
Yeah, we were hot, but just like Paul said for his, but it was that St. Louis humidity. So, it's going to be interesting to see what they have. And I, like you said, Doc, I think one of the things I love is hearing what everybody else's equipment sales look like. That's such a great thing that Paul provides such a in-depth look into it. So it's always neat to hear what everybody else is getting or seeing,
Yeah, and it's how those particular teams do it. And like I wish this year's a bad year to do it with me being gone, but I wish we could push on the Blues to get in similar to what Paul does, is get some photos before and kind of document all of that. And I think that helps. Maybe we can pull that off for next year, get it in their ear more and say, hey, here's these other teams that do this. Would you allow us to do it for media purposes? Or
if they're watching this video, please, if they're watching the podcast, please think of us.
I'll send them the link.
Yeah.
So, a couple of other big things I wanted to touch on this evening is you've got two different auction houses going right now, one of which being GameWarnAuctions.net. I had forgot this one was even out there just because I've been busy with other things, and jersey auctions weren't as big a focus. But had pulled it up just to kind of see what blues and stuff were out there, and was surprised how small this auction is. I mean, usually it's like hundreds of current game worn jerseys, hundreds or a good amount of the vintage and other things. And there's doing the count right now. I mean, there's 200 and under 300 total pieces, some of which being autographed sticks, other game used items, masks, what have you. But like just under the game worn jerseys title, there's only 124, and that really surprised me.
Yeah, they usually, and that includes, because they didn't even separate the vintage stuff. The only thing that's big in there is that they have this Russian jersey collection, which isn't something I collect, but they got 100 of those. I don't know how in depth North American collectors are on that stuff, so it's not something that I'm very knowledgeable about. Maybe one of you guys is.
I am not. I mean, some of them look really cool, but I wouldn't know the first thing about them. But
looking through them, good. I mean, I don't know enough about them to know if I'd be getting a good one or a bad one, or what I would be getting.
Right. And looking at a lot of them with 23 hours and 33 minutes to go. So, by the way, this closes tomorrow, being Friday. If you're listening to this after then, it's too late. A lot of these Russian jerseys are starting at 75 hours, have 0 bids. So, I mean, if you want a cool design for under $100, take a flyer on one of these.
Yeah, find a name of a guy that you're maybe ran through your franchise.
Yeah, sure. Or if you like I said, some of these designs are really, really sharp. Just to some guys will buy these to skate in them.
Really?
Because they like the design and stuff. I mean, a lot of collectors don't want to hear that, but I know guys that do. But I mean, again, if it's a no name but you want that cool design, why not?
Yeah, there are some really good looking jerseys here.
Yeah.
I'm kind of flipping through there right now.
The other one we need to talk about is, and I've seen this started hitting the regular news cycle across all the different platforms, is Gray Flannel's auction. They have one of Gretzky's last jerseys from his very last Rangers game. Last career point in this jersey, with 17 days and 51 minutes to go. The minimum bid at the time was $50,000. It's currently $189,880 with just 11 bids. Wore 4 jerseys in the game, one for warm-ups, one for each period. Gretzky kept it from the third period, and this is has all the proper tagging. It's signed and dated by him on the inside. It's signed and dated by the team. There's a My Gray photo match LOA with it, a JSA LOA for the autograph, also a letter from the team to the Rangers vice president. So good, solid documentation all around. I think there's no question of, I mean, we've seen a lot of the starter jerseys. Hey, is this one real? I mean, there's no question here at all.
Yeah.
Where does this go?
God, I mean, it's got to be $500,000 and up, in my opinion, just right off the hip. I'm guessing.
What do you think, Paul?
I'm gonna guess about the $1 million mark, give or take.
Yeah,
that'd be my over under on it. I don't know how I would bet on $1 million one. Is there a reserve on this jersey?
It does not list one, and maybe they knew they didn't have to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
because it would blow through it. But yeah, it's where on their page where it says current bidding, minimum bid 50,000, current bid 189,880, 11 bids, and then the clock before that. You do, and maybe if you're signed in and can see some more stuff, but you'd think that they would have that up there for anybody to see. But I do not see one listed.
I mean, I can't imagine them thinking that it's not going to get where they want it to get.
Right.
I mean, that's an incredible, I mean, it just is. It's an incredible.
Recorded an assist for his 2,857th and final career point in this jersey. So
crazy piece.
Oh yeah. I'm thinking close to $1.5 million.
Yeah. I mean, I said $500,000, but that's just like a starting number. I mean, I think you guys are definitely right. I mean, the right person's going to want to spend some money on that. And I mean, it's a Hall of Fame quality piece.
I thought that was wishful thinking on your part.
Yeah, I was bidding. I at 500,000, I'm in. At anything a penny over it, I'm out.
Yeah, and they,
Exactly.
Wade's going all in. Oh, now he's out. Sorry. But, just in Gray Flannel's premier lot, which is a lot of Gretzky stuff right now. They have a pair of 80s photo matched gloves, the giant orange gloves with the 99s on them. Some 86, 87 skates that look like were matched by, read the description, 500th goal skates. A lot of sticks, Campbell Conference All-Star jersey, and this one's I need to look at the description is interesting because it says sourced from the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Which item is that?
This is the Gretzky Campbell Conference All-Star jersey, 1983.
Yeah, I see it right here. I'm looking at it. That's a pretty incredible
now
piece.
and so the description is interesting with this one too. It says, due to limited availability and period imagery, Casey Samuelson was unable to pull a photo match, video match confirming placement. The shirt is being offered as a game jersey only. The capacity in which period it was worn, or if it was ever worn, is not opined upon. Just below the inner rear collar is the Masca tag. Adjacent is the Jerry Crosby tag. Size XL in washing instructions. Just kind of skipping through here, don't read it all. Fight straps present. Initials of the Hall of Fame curator are handwritten on the inner elbow pad and referenced in the accompanying copy of the LOA from the Hockey Hall of Fame, which states that Wayne Gretzky's 83 Game War All-Star jersey, and it bears the initials of PJE inside, and is signed by Peter Erickson.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. That's pretty incredible.
It's interesting. Again, it's 16 days to go, so there's a lot of time. Minimum bids 5,000, current bids 5,000 with one bid. And again, just looking by pictures, and I don't know anything on this time frame of these jerseys at all. But it's interesting that it came with Hall of Fame markings and stuff. How did it come out of the Hall of Fame? Is kind of what I'd want to know.
Yeah, for sure.
Because usually don't handle that, take that stuff back over, do you?
Well, no, I mean, I guess if I'm not mistaken, and from my own experience and with other things, if it was given to the Hall of Fame as a consignment, it could be taken back from the Hall of Fame, if that makes any sense. So let's say somebody owned it.
They loaned it out. Okay.
They gave it to the Hall of Fame in a consignment to be used for whatever. It got marked by them to be inventoried for their stuff, and then that person could maybe requested it back. That'd be my guess.
And then they mark it inside so they don't pick it up later. Well, where's that mark? And you may be right. That's an interesting one. That'll be an interesting one to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have
those are beautiful jerseys.
Oh yeah, you've got Connor McDavid's first ever captain's jersey, currently $8,860. You've got a King Henrik photo matched goalie mask, currently at $22,413. A couple Crosby's photo matched, a home and away from 13-14. Both one at 95.03, the other one at 86.39. This one's an interesting piece if you collect Olympic memorabilia, especially 1980. They have a Lake Placid 1980 Winter Olympic silver medal from the Soviets.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
Currently at $3,661. That is very interesting.
You know, the one I found that I thought was really neat in there was they have that New York Americans jersey from like the 30s from, which I thought was like, man, 35, 36 Harry Oliver jersey. Like, how often do you see a jersey that old? You know,
and
like
in that quality.
Condition. Yeah, like that was one of the ones that, like, when I first looked at it, I was like, just for the mere fact that the thing is actually nearly 100 years old at this point is just incredible.
And Wade, you're the card expert because you've worked in that line of work for a while and kind of know how things are.
Yeah.
Have a 1979 OPC Gretzky rookie card currently out here with 8 bids at $4,189. Where does that go?
You know, and then it's an 8, I believe. I mean, that's probably a $10,000 card. you
Yeah,
know?
listed at 8 rating.
Yeah, at least, I mean, it really depends on how clean it is. People are really weird about those because they grade them high, even though some of them have the kind of weird edge. I guess I don't do enough anymore with the cards to know exactly where that would end up, but you could definitely find comps of that, I'm sure, probably listed even on eBay,
Yeah.
um, yeah, at that grade. You started getting into, 8.5s, 9s, 9.5s, then suddenly they become a lot more rare than an 8. But still an incredible card. I mean, if you're looking for a fairly high grade Gretzky, I mean, you know, it's a neat card.
Got Mike Richter goalie mask and goalie pads out here in some different lots. Those are interesting. It's neat to see some of the things that show up.
Yeah, for
2000,
sure.
2001 Curtis Joseph Toronto mask.
They always have some pretty crazy stuff,
yeah.
I mean,
Like even I would be willing. I'd be curious where this one sells, just because he was at the Florida game the other night. There's a Yager 2004 practice worn and signed photo matched All-Star jersey,
wow,
and
that's pretty
it's with
cool.
16 days. It's $550.
Did you mention the Lundqvist mask?
Yeah.
That's already at like 22 grand. I mean, that's really cool. It's still got the chin shield on it too, and that's neat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're into if that, I mean, that's got to be a pretty neat and rare piece.
But like even with Yager, his stuff is still so popular because he's still playing. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
insane.
And he just seems like he's probably the coolest guy,
Right. But yeah, lots of interesting pieces out here. Even Gordie Howe's signed personal hospital chest X-ray. Though that's some kind of stuff that pops up, and you're like, wow, to just have it and say, look.
Hey, look what I got.
But it would have been, it's signed best always, and it has his autograph on it. It'd be more interesting if it was tied to him getting hurt in a game and they did a
Yeah,
X-ray
yeah.
post game. So I thought those were some different pieces. You got some other Chris Chelios, some stuff out here, Martin St. Louis, Rangers, different lots of stuff, and you've got some time to go. Like I said, Game Worn Auctions, their stuff ends tomorrow. If you want to look through any of those, Gray Flannel, you got a little bit of time, but we'll all see where the Gretzky one goes and see if our guesses were even close.
Yeah, no kidding. I know I'm not a player on it, so yeah.
Paul may be the closest it could be a player. I
Paul's,
know
Paul's been pretty quiet. Maybe Paul's eyeing it. He's not really saying
no. No, I got to say we got to be closer on those. I'm predicting the bids, and we are on our Stanley Cup Finals predictions.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
But we won't bring those up.
Yeah.
Florida's just been a monster. I mean, I hate to be kind of distracted, but I am over the shoulder watching the game right now.
Oh yeah, I see it. I've got it pulled up on my phone, just a score sheet, 2-2 going into to overtime. I will say we've seen some of the best overtimes across the entire playoffs this year.
Absolutely.
And just some of the crazy crap.
Yeah, it's been wild. I mean, like I was laughing. I mean, I'm sure you guys saw some of Rod Brendamore's comments. I mean, like there was some wild stuff going on this year. It's, I mean,
we weren't swept. I'm sorry.
No,
how do you figure that?
Yeah. That's like I'm curious to see. I keep waiting to see if he's going to end up catching a fine for that, because that's he's really dancing close with basically like saying the refs didn't do a very good job, and I think that's really what he's saying without saying it. So it'll be interesting to see how that gets played out.
Yeah, no, that's a good thought. And even listening to, again, I'm like plugging other podcasts because, hey, they're good and they don't compete with us, is the Daily Face Off. Listen to theirs today. They broke down was it goaltender interference, and they all agreed that it was. And why the NHL didn't call it, they're surprised about.
There's been a couple of them. I mean, there's the at the end of the Toronto series with Florida, the goal that there's been a few of them across the league. Oh no, never mind. I thought I just saw them score, but it's a it's a
It'd been funny if you jumped up screaming.
I might. No, it's I mean, that's always the craziest thing for me about all sports at this point is with all the camera views and stuff. When there's still mistakes made or things missed, like there's so many ways that they can, but then you take away the human factor of the game. So like there's questions across the whole sports world about all that stuff. So probably not the podcast for that.
Some of the other things that I've seen, and I don't, to make it clear, I mean, we're very open and we cover it all. We don't, I say, protect people. We don't like try to initially like bash people, but I know I've heard some different rumblings in the hobbies on some things, one of which the Minnesota Wild opened up a huge amount of stuff in their store for sale. And I think some of the jerseys were like $75 a piece, and somebody bought a ton of them. And some of the comments, people are expecting to see him hit the market at stupid high prices. So
we've dealt with that at the Blues level ourselves.
And even some of the bulk buying companies that seem to talk to the Blues before anybody else, and jack them up 3 times what the team had them for.
No, for sure. I mean, here at the end of the day, if you're there's a market value part to it. If you're the guy that gets in first, you get the chance to do that. I mean, obviously you never want to see anybody try to abuse it, but unfortunately, if you get a good value on something, sometimes people are going to try to make money. We've had the conversation, and I get frustrated, and we all get frustrated with people flipping stuff from time to time. I mean, and a lot of times, in my opinion, that leads to people bidding stuff up, and it gets to be, it makes the hobby a little less fun when you feel like you're not necessarily competing with people who are doing it the same way that you want to do it. If that makes any sense.
It does. I mean, on the Minnesota Wild issue, there were, well, I guess a modest amount of gear, which lasted a few days. They had a rack or two of $75 jerseys, and they were either all game issued, very lightly worn, or Traverse City jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and somebody went in and bought most of them?
I'm sorry?
Did somebody go in and buy most of them? Is that the problem?
Well, what happened, day one, they sold a lot of them. And then supposedly they had 20, 25 of them left. And someone came in and purchased them on day 2.
All of them?
Yes. The remaining 20 something of them.
Yeah.
So it's not a crazy number of them,
Sure.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, it's, so those went on day 2. My understanding is gear lasted at least another day or 2, gloves and stuff. But
yeah,
because they used to put a lot of the jerseys out on their website, and that kind of fell away. So now it seems to be like only in person. And I know, again, like any other team, you have not just local people that want that stuff.
Yeah, you're right. No.
Welcome to the internet, teams. Use it a little bit.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we got to get one of your, are you going to use one of your, I was waiting for one of your sound effects there.
Oh.
We haven't gotten any sound effects lately.
Yeah,
the money one there.
Hey. We've missed sound effects the last couple.
I need to start hitting those buttons more often.
Yeah, we like that.
Well, and it's the hobby's never going to be perfect. We're all going to get frustrated with it, especially because we're all trying to get the same stuff. But when you have people, again, buying those big lots, and in some cases, if they're, the Adidas stuff seems to be more popular right now because they're harder to get, is guys, as we've talked about in past podcasts, stripping it to put better stuff on it. As long as they're not selling it that way. And I will say, I saw a great post, and I can't remember what jersey it was, what team it was, whatever, but it was one of the Authentics groups. Somebody bought a game issued, possibly game worn, I don't remember, jersey. They showed that they had it stripped, put the new player on it. And they said that the set tag inside, and it had the other player's name on it, was still there. Somebody actually commented, "Hey, My thought would be to unstitch that and remove it completely, so there is never ever any confusion that that was game worn. And the owner of the jersey agreed and said, I'm going to do that. That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
And I thought that it was a great. The person wasn't attacking him for it. Hey, bitching at them for doing this. Said just made the suggestion, knowing that there can be confusion in the hobby of what that is.
Yeah.
By removing it now, yes, the jersey does have some wear. I think I remember this now, but there's no confusion because the team had set stamps for everybody. And it wouldn't, you couldn't be passed off easily as a game worn.
And in that case, I kind of like seeing the set tag stay in the jersey when it's altered.
Yeah.
Especially
I kind of agreed too, because it had the player's name, the original player's name.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in that case, leave it in there. Write something on it, but write, stripped and altered, and put your initials and the date on it or something.
Yeah, inside the fight tag or something.
Yeah, do it on the fight tag and then write it on that. Even write it on that, tagging, whatever. Just do something to denote it to help for the future. Because here's the thing. I mean, we can all think we're going to be able to keep track of this stuff, but 5, 10, 15 years down the road,
right.
Who knows if I'm even going to be here?
We've sold, we knew it was stripped or whatever, and then it's been sold 3 down, and then magically it's on an auction house for, look, there's game wear and this and that. And,
absolutely.
And that's what bothers me about removing the game worn tag, which identified it to another player. Just like removing a migrate tag, which you can look up in the population report and know it's a different player.
Yeah, I agree.
Except if it's spelled with 2 O's, then it's much harder to look up.
Yes,
as Barry can attest to many times when those get shared. I love those. Between those and the cut up jersey cards where it's the whole migrate tag in the jersey card, I love those too.
I've seen a few of those float around.
I actually love when you see those.
Yeah. One of the things again, talking about the constructive criticism that we've seen lately on some posts, and Wade, you may know this one as well. In our group, there was a gentleman posted a older jersey up in a lot of the other game worn groups. It's a Blues jersey, wasn't in ours. And somebody must have questioned him, hey, I'm surprised you haven't posted it in here. And he actually made a post saying, well, people know what I paid because of people tracking all the auctions and this stuff. And it was kind of off-putting to him. So I typed out a long thing and said, listen, the reason I started doing that is one, so I can track trends of players. If there's a certain player I want, and the last 6 jerseys have sold for $650 or around there, well, that's what this one should probably sell for.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, as I even told the guy in the thing, I said, it doesn't mean you can't ask more, because you own it, you can do what you want, but it's
so
more of a trend. And then he was okay. Once we explained some of that, he commented back, appreciated that, and then posted it.
Yeah. And for me, it's one of those things like, listen, there's a ebb and flow to what these things are worth. I mean, there are going to be sometimes you get something and it becomes more valuable, and that happens. There are other times it becomes less valuable. Us keeping track, or you keeping the list and all of us looking at it to see what stuff's selling for, is only fair to yourself as a collector. There's plenty of jerseys out there that I have in my collection that I probably paid too much for. And here, at the end of the day, if you're a guy going on an auction and you're buying at some level second tier players or bottom 6 guys or last pair defenders or call ups and stuff like that, and when those auctions are going off and you're paying whatever you're paying for them, I'm sorry to break it to you, there's a good chance you're not going to get that back for it on the secondary market. But in the same sense, we've fought through a while back where, like we were talking about, where people buy the things at the auctions, and those jerseys may be worth more than what you paid for them. And there is a market value to that. And trying to control that is difficult. In the case that you're talking about, that jersey is worth what the gentleman was asking for it. And I believe he sold it for what he was asking.
Yeah, and it didn't hang out long.
And he wasn't wrong. At the end of the day, a guy like me, when I'm looking at it, I went back and looked at what it sold for. That I knew it was worth more than that, and I was okay with that. For our group and for the hobby, there are times where if you see somebody trying to gouge somebody, and putting up stuff. Here, I'll give you the example. When I see a guy flipping a jersey who bought it in one of the current auctions for $500, and then if they put it up 2 weeks later for $1,250, that's something that for our members, it's the right thing to say, hey, like you just bought that 2 weeks ago for $550,
Right. And if something happened in the career in those 2 weeks that could
yeah,
jam that price
well,
up, fine,
but
but not just because.
just because somebody else missed out. And that's where, like we talked about off camera a couple times, that's where frustration in lies sometimes with that. There's been times recently for me where maybe I missed something in an auction, knowing I got outbid by people bidding stuff to bid on it, getting one, and then 2 weeks later wanting to move it. You're just like, to me, like, here, I've told you, sometimes for me that takes away a little bit of the fun in the hobby for me a little bit. And that's just
Yeah.
being honest.
Because
And
you fought so hard to get it, and then why are you getting rid of it? And I understand things happen to all of us. We're okay.
Absolutely.
I just got to move some stuff, and I know this is popular. I need to get it out, but
Yeah.
just know that there's, and again, if the auction just happened a few weeks ago, the Blues app, you can look back pretty far.
Oh,
You don't even
absolutely.
need my sheet for the Blues pricing, and I don't know if other teams people are tracking this stuff like
Well, if it's on GetSmart, if it's on that app, you could track, if you're a member to whatever, you could track any auction from any team that uses that
Yep.
that format. And that's just the truth. Paul, what do you think? I mean, how do you feel about that from your collective, your stance, from your team?
I mean, I do. There's a couple issues with it. First off, I like to know what things sold for in the past and how the market's changing on that. And it's, 2 weeks, as you mentioned, it's awfully short time. It really doesn't matter. But once you start getting in the months and years past, it's just a nice little reference point. I mean, where I'm struggling with this is in the main group, we have the issue of some people constantly price shaming. Someone's asking a grand for that, whatever, and they'll come up and say, hey, that was at an equipment sale a month ago for $800, or or whatever, or point to the auction at it. And how I feel about this is when you own the jersey, you have the right to ask whatever you want for it.
Absolutely.
And the market will correct itself on that. And
Sure.
it doesn't. So I'm torn on, is it okay to post the old auction prices underneath it? Probably not on someone else's sales post, especially the way a lot of people do this. And in the main group, it's been problematic because it usually turns ugly a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm deleting a lot of comments on it.
And I don't think you should price shame anyone. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm a big believer in, if you don't like it, just move forward. Here at the end of the day, I tell people this all the time. People make a lot of posts for stuff, and if it's not priced right, it's not going to sell. And you see plenty of people that constantly make posts, and they have the stuff, and it's the same post months after whatever. And they constantly, you see them dropping it $50 or $100 every time. But at the end of the day, if it's too much, nobody's going to buy it. And if it's priced right, there's usually somebody looking for it, and they're going to pay for it if they're comfortable with it. And at the end of the day, it's nobody's place to decide what's right,
And in regards to the particular jersey that we were seeing was a cup jersey. There's not been several have hit the market recently, which was kind of a little bit odd, but sometimes that happens. It's always funny because you see them pop up in groups, and then you won't see
three of them.
But I didn't see a single one of them priced wrong, and
no.
went.
And the one that sold was probably the most extraordinary of players, level-wise. It was definitely a top-tier player, and that one sold. Now, and I know the sellers of all the items, and at the end of the day, the other ones are priced accordingly, but they're guys who either moved on, aren't with the team anymore, and it kind of falls back to that comment I made earlier, which is a lot of times if you're getting some of those tiered guys, unless it becomes something extraordinary, it becomes harder down the road to do that. I mean, here, like, I'll give you a great example. Like Kyle Broziak was a guy who, when he was in St. Louis, everybody loved him. He's a third or fourth line guy, tough guy, grinder. I mean, at the time, that was a guy that probably garnished a lot of bids. Unfortunately, like, you try to sell one of his jerseys now, it's not desirable. He's many years removed from being a Blue. That
the younger fans are like, who?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that happens. It's a "what have you done for me lately" thing. Obviously, on a different level, if you have a Ryan Reeves, different takes. So those are still very popular and sell very well. Similar kind of thing, but totally different outcome.
Sure, and some of the guys who set themselves apart, like one of the prime examples is Carl Gunnarsson, was not a flashy player, not a fantastic player, but his quote is remembered from him being next to our coach before I think we went to overtime when he scored that goal.
And he's going to be a
that's
guy
what he's known for.
Absolutely. But here, there's a lot of those kind of guys, and at the end of the day, the value of this stuff is going to set its own precedent. Like we talked about before with some of these sales, when the guy that bought the Wild jerseys for $75. Here, if he can turn those into 250, 300, 500, if he got a really good one or a guy that's coming up, good for him. A lot of time, if you can't be there or you weren't there, or you didn't put in the time to be there, then unfortunately you're going to have to pay a price to the person who did acquire the stuff.
Or they'll sit, and then eventually you'll see the
and if that person is really out of line, then they're not going to sell, and you'll get it at some point.
Right. And I think in the Blues jerseys, at least for the Cup ones, I think one of the most desirable ones is the blue one, which was like the one that sold because it was because the players got the whites to keep, but the Blues were game 6 and they wore them in the parade.
Oh, yeah. So there's 1,000 photos.
Yeah, massive pictures of every player.
And everybody loved the parade. I mean, people, absolutely, hey, Dallas just scored. And it was Joe.
Wow, Joe pushed it to at least it's not a sweep now.
Yeah.
They may challenge it. Hold on. I have no idea. I don't have the game on.
I was like, man, he must be ahead of me because I don't see a challenge happening.
Watch, they'll call goaltender interference on it.
Oh man. And like I said, those other, the other finals jerseys for the Blues that are out there are great jerseys, and I think that the right person is they actually are watching it looks like. So who knows what's going to happen here.
Nothing would surprise me in the NHL right now.
No, me neither. But here, I mean, like, we were talking about, and I'll bring up a reference I've used in the past for some of these sale jerseys. I was able to, and I talked about him earlier. Craig Conroy is one of my all-time favorite Blues players. I loved his style from an era when I was really growing up into being a Blues fan. His jerseys prior to that summer sale were probably 1,000 and up. And if it was a clown style, it's even more than that. He's an extremely popular player, has a following. I was able to acquire from that summer sale for a very reasonable price, a home and away jersey, which I value substantially in my collection. Prior to the summer sale, if somebody would have offered me one of those jerseys, I probably would have paid over $1,000 for it. Now that I have them, and at the summer sale, there were a few other ones, and they've kind of not flooded the market, but they filled the market. It's probably a $700 and $800 jersey to the right collector now. The market changed. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just what it is. Now, if somebody got those for the $100 or the $150 at the summer sale, they should not have had to sell that for $100. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but if it's a no-name guy, like I've seen one of the companies that has a bunch on one of the sites online, $250 a pop for Traverse City jerseys.
Oh, it's crazy.
Of players you don't know who the hell they are.
I'll give you a great one that just closed on eBay, and I was watching it. Vladimir Nagy, who played for the Blues for a short period of time, ended up having a couple pretty good years in Arizona,
which we'll talk about them in a minute.
Scoring player. One of his jerseys was just on eBay, and it actually closed last night. And it ended up going for, I think, $500 or $550, somewhere right around there. I'd have to look. I didn't bid on it. I did watch it. I think it was an initial bid of like $399, sold for in the like $520, let's say. Probably a jersey that came from that summer sale that somebody paid $150 for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's worth what it was worth in that auction. I mean, that just is what it is.
Yeah, the market's going to dictate everything, be it an auction, be it posting it in a Facebook group, and if it sells right away or if it floats.
Yeah.
The other thing is too is even like I don't own any cup jerseys. I wish I did, but I have some Western Conference Finals ones. So seeing where the current market is for the cup jerseys and how much more they've appreciated, that's going to pull up the Western Conference Finals ones too.
Absolutely, yeah. The cup year stuff, I famously got that year we were so bad the first part of the year.
January.
Correct.
Early
I
January.
won in auction, and you could look it up. You can obviously look it up on your list. I won a Tarasenko Cup Year Set 1 jersey directly from the Blues auction, and I paid less than $1,000 for it. It's a Cup Year Tarasenko jersey. It's worth way more than that. But unfortunately, at that time, they were so bad.
It was a down market.
The market was terrible for him, and I scored a great jersey that's worth way more than the $900 I paid for it.
Well,
that's a win for me.
Sure,
but I also
saw a lot of that.
Yeah, I also have a Jacob Delarose jersey in my collection that I'll never, exactly. But you get my point. I mean, I've got good ones and bad ones. It happens.
All of us do. And you mentioned the
Coyotes,
Arizona. We don't know for sure what's going to happen. It looks like the writing's on the wall where they end up somewhere else, but the frickin' commissioner says, "Oh no, they're staying in Arizona." I don't know how the hell that's going to happen.
I think they're still dancing with trying to find them somewhere to build something.
But my question is this: is if Arizona and the past teams, we can compare this as well, is if Arizona moves to be it Texas, Houston's one of the places talked about. Kansas City's been on referenced a few other places. When they move from, and I know Arizona's a shitty team anyway, so maybe this is a bad example, does the desirability of those jerseys go up or down? Or just bigger name guys that like Clayton Keller and some of those, the guys that are going to be stars wherever they go, if they even leave the team. Because like you don't see a lot of another shitty team that used to be around, the Thrashers. You don't see many of those jerseys pop up. But do they hold a bigger value now that the team still exists, but there's somebody else?
Yeah. For me, it's one of those things like I think the Thrashers jerseys kind of tell the story. The one thing about Arizona is they've obviously been there for 30 years almost, or give or, however many years. I think they've been there 30 years.
Yeah, 96 was that the first year they started, I think?
No, it was earlier than that, I think. It was probably like 93, 94 when they moved there. But, when you look at it and it's 30, 25, 30 years worth of jerseys, at the end of the day, when they're gone, people will care less. I think obviously people that are fans in Arizona will probably care less about having them. At some point it becomes a niche market. Atlanta was a much shorter time. And those jerseys still sell, not at a premium, but if you got a good player and whatever, they're interesting. You can also, if I throw it to the AHL, the Blues were San Antonio. That franchise became the Henderson team. There's no longer hockey in San Antonio. Those jerseys used to sell for pretty good money and were very popular when it was an AHL franchise city. And, they had a lot of pretty good diehard collectors there. And that stuff's, tanked, as far as value goes. Plus, they also were a franchise that, they were the Coyotes, then they were the Colorado, then the Blues. So, their NHL changed. Yeah. So, those were jerseys that when they were the Blues affiliate, they were getting big money for some of that stuff. And now, you could, pennies on the dollar, I think almost.
Sure. And yeah. And Arizona actually did start 96. They were Phoenix Coyotes 96 to 14. Okay. And then 14, and now the Arizona Coyotes, currently at least the best named arena, the Mullet Arena.
Yeah.
And they've done some great marketing with selling mullets at the Coyotes games, by the way. But I was just because I mean you got to and like you said, Wade, is this team has been around a lot longer, and you've got big name guys you've been that have come through there, and of course even Gretzky coached them, and you've had Kachuk down there, Doan,
Hall.
Roenick, Hull. You've got a lot of big names, but there's also a lot of names that nobody's going to remember.
Absolutely.
Period. But I'll be curious if down the road the values of those come up just because they don't exist and
Yeah.
they stop. I mean, there's no more.
Well, a guy like Shane Doan who played, his whole career for that franchise.
Yeah.
When that franchise is gone, who holds his hat anymore? Like where, like there's other players you can think about that had that happen in their careers as well. When the franchise is gone, like where's the connection to those things go? I mean, like even a guy like Keith Yandel who played a long time in Arizona, an Ironman kind of guy. I mean, his jerseys are extremely reasonably priced. One, because there's not a ton of people buying Arizona jerseys, and two, because there's a ton of them out there. For what he is, that should be a much more expensive jersey.
Right.
I mean, most of the pricing for Phoenix / Arizona is very, very reasonable.
Yeah.
Compared to the rest of the league.
But like we've said too, is getting the money back out of those later is going to be pretty rare. Again, unless you've got somebody like Keller or a big name guy.
Roenick. Yeah. You're never going to get hurt on a Jeremy Roenick jersey. You're never going to get hurt on
or Phil Kessel would be another one to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'll also carry value.
Never going to get hurt on a guy that's a all-time player.
Because I couldn't, you'll laugh because I couldn't pull out Phil Kessel's name. So I did a Google search for fat NHL players because they always pick on him. And there's actually a list. I'll read this again. Complete side note thing, has nothing true to do with Game Worn, but they have a list of the 15 fattest NHL players. Mark Recchi. One guy I don't know about. 13. Wade, you and I are familiar with him because he was even suspended when he came into camp.
I know.
Kachuk.
Yeah.
And that Kachuk jersey just sold, the one with the hurricane patch. The reason it was issued because he was suspended for being fat.
Yeah.
Tim Thomas, number 11, of course, Phil Kessel. Some of the guys I don't.
Not higher.
Yeah. Bruce Boudreau was listed as a fat guy. Some of these names are older guys, Gump Worsley, but those, I mean, I don't consider that because they didn't work out like the more modern NHL guys do.
They didn't look like the guys that.
No, Dustin Byfuglien was rated number 1 fattest.
Some of the Phil Kessel stories are like phenomenal when they talk about some of the stuff that like former teammates will talk about, like what they've caught him eating. Or like some of the stuff, like having like sodas during the game.
You know what? Who gives a damn? Look at how he plays.
Do it. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm not knocking. He's in the NHL. If he can eat like that and his body doesn't cause him issues, more power to you.
Absolutely. We're all wired different,
Right. Anything else on? I mean, we've covered a lot of different areas at the moment. I mean, wanted to touch on some of those sales. If we get more in the meantime, we'll do that. Say the Gretzky jersey caught my attention today. I had missed it before, and some other things going on in the hobby world. Anything else on either one of your minds? Paul, I'll start with you if you got anything else.
Well, we got the Dusseldorf Expo coming up.
Oh, yeah.
I have the dates on that, which I did not the last show. August 26th and 27th. So
not long. I mean, especially if you're planning on going overseas, now's the time to get that stuff booked.
Yes, yeah. We've booked our plane tickets to it, and they're still reasonable. It's
you can fly all the way to Germany to meet Paul.
Yeah. No, looking forward to that. So. And I know there's a few other expos which have been announced besides the Migrate one, which
we'll try. I'll try and dig some of those dates out. I kind of wish, and maybe we need to make one again. Not like we need more Game Worn pages, but maybe like a central page for all the expos, so anybody can post them there.
I actually have that on my website, and I've been negligent on keeping it up to date.
We're all busy. I mean, we're supposed to start recording this an hour sooner than we did, and 3 minutes before I'm hitting record, I had to go deal with an issue, and it's hey, that's welcome to life. This is none of us are being paid for this, so.
I'll add it to my to-do list for this weekend.
There you get the long holiday weekend. You might as well. The goal, by the way, the goal did stand, so we're going to Game 5
on Saturday. It's Saturday afternoon, I think. So
nice.
So if they win, if Vegas wins, the rumor is the Game 1 will start Wednesday instead of June the 3rd.
June the 3rd is so far away.
But initially, when you don't expect both teams to possibly sweep the conference finals, you plan for that. But at least they can move it up. Could you imagine if they couldn't?
No, absolutely be crazy. I mean, that's just such a long time to sit. I mean, I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah. Wade, any final things you want to touch on?
No, I mean, I think we've hit a lot of topics today. It's always fun. We always talk about so many different things. I always think the one thing I want to throw out there is if somebody does watch and or listen to this, our opinions are usually just based on us trying to think about what's best for the hobby or what have you. And I never want anybody to take anything the wrong way, when we're discussing pricing or sales or whatever. And I think that's just kind of something, as we've done so many of these now, it's important to say that I just, we're all doing this from a passion standpoint and a love of what we all love. So I would hate for anybody to ever to take anything out of context the wrong way or feel like it's an attack. Yeah. You kind of mentioned that earlier. Yeah, so that's just something that felt like I wanted to say tonight at the end of this,
No, you make a fantastic point. Is we're here to educate, to have a good time, and always grow the hobby. We're never going to come on this show and bash a collector. And two of the discussions we had were about very positive interactions of, hey, what about doing this? Or, okay, I felt uncomfortable putting this here because, and once we explained why things were being done, they were all about it. And sometimes it's just a conversation needs to be had.
Cool. And that's all I want to say. Right. I just felt like it was kind of one of those things tonight. I'm sitting here thinking about it as I'm kind of, I think one of the things that all of us have is a passion for this stuff. And I love, you mentioned earlier, I love autographs and I love baseball cards and I love these hockey jerseys and I love just collecting. And I love, I've made the comment and we've all made it before. I love the people as much as anything else. I've been so lucky and blessed in my life to have met some amazing people and friends in this that are from tons of different backgrounds, tons of different places, but share a common thing. And I think sometimes we can lose track of what that is. And I think it's important that we just remember that this stuff is stuff that we all care about and have a passion for. And that's important to me.
I mean, it's a hobby. I know some people do business with them, but we're still, we're still all friends. And at the end of the day, it's those connections. I mean, the jerseys bring us together, but that's not the end of it.
Well, absolutely. So that's my final thought.
I like it. I figured I hit the button a few more times. And by the way, gentlemen, this is episode number 20.
Woo!
We are climbing the charts in the number of episodes, and we'll keep rolling through it. And the listenership has been great. I hate to be the annoying person when you watch any of these podcasts or anything or listen and watch whatever. Like and subscribe through all the different ways, because one of my long-term goals is watching some of the metrics is if we hit certain things, there'll be, and I can't even tell you how much it'll be. YouTube takes forever, but on the Spotify side of things, if you hit certain metrics, they'll start giving us permission to do ads, which will generate revenue. My plan, and I'll just put this out to everybody, is if we generate a little bit of money, all it's going to be is for us to maybe purchase something game used and do a giveaway now and then. It's not going in there's not going to be enough revenue to generate anything for us to live off of that kind of stuff. We're not podcasters with 1 million followers or 1 million views or whatnot.
Yeah.
But we're getting close with the Spotify stuff and I don't even know how much their ads even pay. But I would like to get to a point where maybe it generates a little bit and we can pick up a cheap jersey and give it away as some kind of deal down the road.
T-shirt.
Yeah. So anything, just fun stuff like that. Just have a good time and make some extra things. Gentlemen, another great show in the books. I appreciate your time. And again, we'll as we get more equipment sales and stuff going, or if different teams are doing sales or weird things, we will let you know. See you next time, boys.
Good night.